You're listening to the Black Eagles podcast.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Yanında Tümer var. Tümer'e doğru attı. Kaybetti. Tümer topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol! Gol! Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Roma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet. Ve
Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 233 of the Black Eagles podcast, and I am, of course, your host, Sinan, live from New York City, where it is unseasonably temperate, lovely. Weather's nice, nothing to complain about. Not even that hot yet, we've had a few hot days, but nothing to complain about by any stretch, which is, of course, the perfect metaphor. For the first time in, certainly as long as we've been doing this podcast, and beyond, let's just say, for now, Beşiktaş has somehow managed to make its most important transfers in time for training, give or take a couple days, They did, in fact, start today, June 28th, or I guess yesterday now, it's past midnight here, but they started training, maybe even on the 27th, on Monday. So, if that's the case, fantastic. That was my birthday, so, a blessed day for all of us. Beşiktaş returning. I mean, how fitting would that be? Anyway, but, all of that said, smooth sailing for us this year, going into training camp. And now I guess we'll talk about those transfers, but first we have something special.
Operation is in effect as of right now.
That's right. Kaan is returning, not to talk with me. He's not here. He's not lurking in the background. But he does, with that said, have a special guest, Amine el Amri of Le Matin, who reports from Casablanca in Morocco. And so he is being interviewed by Kaan about our very first official transfer of this window, Romain Saïss. Certainly a pivotal player, and Ceyhun Kazanji or whoever it was, made the promise that we were going to go for guys like under 27 or something, and then the first guy we bring in is 32-year-old Romain Saïss. But I think it's a position we're all willing to make an exception at, insofar as we needed to replace Domagoj Vida, the sort of standard bearer of our back line for the last few seasons. And so we needed to make sure we got someone with the experience to kind of confidently hold that back line down. We got a guy with Premier League experience, a plethora of it. So it's honestly the perfect move. And it went under radars. Kaan mentions this, so I won't go into it. But we've also discussed it previously when he was on air last time around. And so, I guess real quickly, just before we go in, so folks might be aware of the gap between our last episode and this one. And some of you folks on Twitter will have seen I got COVID. So that, still at the very tail end of it, I'd say I'm at like 95%. But with that said, it was a pretty light strain of it for the most part. I mean, as far as the length of it, it hit me pretty hard, honestly, the first couple days. Stay safe out there, folks. No doubt. And before that, my wife had it, so that's how we can account for the big gap here. But we are back now, and I suppose I'm now immune for the rest of the summer. So that is a silver lining for sure, which means there'll be no more COVID breaks on my end. And hopefully lots of fun news to get into now, actually. We're just in time, right? And so, Romain Saïss is the first guy that we brought in. It's been made official. He didn't show up to training on day one. They're giving a bit of an extension to guys who played for their national teams. And it's worth noting there aren't a ton of those guys left, with the Canadian pair gone. Atip Hutchinson has not been confirmed yet, although it's largely assumed he will return for his final season. That said, Kyle Laren's gone, so no Canadians for us to be giving that national team break extension to. Georges Kevin-Nkoudou is another guy who was given that extension. He now obviously plays for Cameroon. He's debuted. He's played for them now. He should feature in the World Cup. So a couple guys. With that said, so we'll have Nkoudou representing the African nation of Cameroon in the World Cup, and we will have Romain Saïss representing Morocco. And we've talked about this in the group. It's a good group of ex-Besiktas players that Romain Saïss is hopefully going to win. But so on that note, I'm going to hand the mic over to Kaan Bayazit and Amine el Amri. And you'll get all the info you could ever dream of regarding Romain Saïss. Of course, I'm joking. But no, that really was a very in-depth, great interview by Kaan, as usual. And to Amine, thank you so much for coming on. Without further ado, let's hear what the fellas have to say.
And joining me right now is a Moroccan football expert journalist for Le Matin and based in Casablanca, Amine el Amri. Amine, thank you for joining me and giving us a little bit of your insights on Beşiktaş's new signing, Romain Saïss. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's good.
So you're based in Casablanca, which is kind of similar to Istanbul in the sense that everyone thinks it's the capital, but it's not. At least in Europe.
Financially, it is the capital. But
kind of the same way with Istanbul. It's it's very similar in that regard. So what was your first reaction when you heard the news that the Moroccan captain and also captain for Wolves, I believe, for the past few years and playing in England for the past 6 years, Saïss would move to Beşiktaş? I heard there was some interest from the Middle East as well. Were you surprised by his move?
Well, not really, because we've seen the last years that Turkey and Super League was beginning to be like a destination of choice for Moroccan international pre-retreat. Let's say in the last years of their careers. So no, I wasn't surprised. I actually was very, very happy for him to go to Turkey instead of going to Gulf Arabian Championship, where the level is obviously not the same as in Turkey.
Yeah, and he hasn't signed a mega deal by any stretch of the imagination. He has signed a 2 + 1 year contract worth roughly 1.8 million a year. Is that something that surprises you at all? Because he's clearly not really making the choice for big money and still has some aspirations from the sportive aspect, you would imagine.
Yeah, of course. I think maintaining his level of competitiveness is the main goal, because obviously in a couple of months we're playing the World Cup, so playing in a club, and a big club in Turkey, obviously outside Galatasaray and Fenerbahce, playing with Beşiktaş will help him maintain a very good level of competitiveness. So I think he's going step by step. So that's why he signed a 2 + 1 year contract. But I think it's a logical and very sporting choice for his career.
Yeah, he's been playing in the Premier League for the past 4 years, played for Wolverhampton for the past 6, 2 years in the Championship as well, won promotion with them, and was one of the, I wouldn't maybe, well, how would you say he is perceived as a defender? I'll put it that way. I'm not going to put words in your mouth.
Well, there's still a big mystery, on his role around the pitch, because he started his career in Angers playing a defensive midfielder, and then for Morocco he played in central defense. And actually, I asked him before in an interview what does he prefer to be, what position he prefers to be, but he doesn't like to be, contained in one position. So he could play both. Obviously, in Morocco he plays in central defense, but in Wolves, especially during Nuno Espirito Santo's stint, he played many games in the central midfield before recruiting the arrival of João Moutinho.
And at Beşiktaş, of course, Valérien Ismaël, the new coach since the past couple of months, he is very adamant of playing a 3-4-3 formation, something that Saïss is familiar with at Wolves as well, of course. And the big plan for Ismaël seems to be to put him in the back three as a sort of the playmaker from behind almost. And of course, with his background playing in midfield and stuff, it's understandable that he was very keen on signing someone with the profile of Saïss to bolster the defense at the back. Also replacing Domagoj Vida, who after 4 years at Beşiktaş didn't extend his contract and is leaving. But with Saïss, Beşiktaş now have maybe a more technically refined defender that can, of course, as you pointed out as well, also play in midfield if necessary. What type of player would you say he is? Is he an aggressive player, or does he rely more on his instincts and his intelligence?
Well, he's very aggressive when playing in defense. It's kind of guy to go all in, to go for a tackle, and not restraining any effort to get the ball back. But obviously he's a left footer, so left footers are more keen to play ball and to launch the attack from the heart of the defense. So he's kind of mixing both, but his effort and his attitude and his dedication to playing in defense are very high standards. Otherwise, he wouldn't stay in the Wolves beyond the championship.
Definitely. And this move, I mean, I did notice on the internet that there was a lot of surprise from Moroccan fans, especially that he made this move. Do you know why it is that he didn't continue with Wolves? Did they want to start a new chapter with a younger, fresher approach or something?
Yeah, I don't know about the Wolves, but maintaining this high level of competitiveness, especially in the Premier League, once the player is past his 33 years old, is very hard. The attraction of the Premier League makes it that every aspiring player, especially in defense, where the schemes, the tactics are really changing throughout the last 5 or 10 years. So I think the level of competitiveness would have made Saïss go to the bench for even for the start of the new year, because obviously there are new projects going in Wolverhampton, especially, but all over the Premier League. I mean, except City and Liverpool, maybe all the others are changing either technical or property, or So I think it's the start of a new page in the Premier League. And being 32, I think he went for the insurance of playing more than with a new challenge. Like I said before, it's a World Cup year.
Yeah.
So it's really important to have to maintain the level of competitiveness and play much more football, because you need to be in November. You need to arrive to Qatar in the best shape possible. Yeah, maybe people would be surprised because his level, his attitude, his dedication are very good professional. But this guy, he signed his first pro contract at 21, so he's kind of been late to the business. And when you're 32, playing your 11th or 12th year as a professional, I think he needed this kind of cooling off from the competitiveness and the rage of competitiveness in the Premier League. So I saw it as a logical move. People might be surprised, but I know it's the right thing to do for him.
And did you notice any particular spark in interest now? Of course, we've had Younes Belhanda at Galatasaray in the past years. Now he plays for Adana Demirspor. And there's been other Moroccan players in the Super League over the past couple of years, of course. But this is probably the highest profile Moroccan to come to Turkey since Belhanda. Do you notice that there's any increased interest in Morocco in the Turkish league now?
Yeah, I think it's still around maybe 6 to 10 players per year in the Super League. And I remember when Amrabat went to Galatasaray, I think he played 1 or 2 seasons, and then there was a law about foreign players or something that maybe has stopped the let's say the exodus of Moroccan players going into Turkey. So it's like you said in the beginning, Istanbul is very likely to Casablanca. So even for players that were born or grew up in France or other parts of Europe, going to Turkey, it's more like going to Morocco actually, with the cultural ties and the level of competitiveness. It's really a good championship. So when you see Moroccan international, I think there were 5 or 6 last years. I'm not sure about the number of the 21-22 season, but there were like Hatayspor, they had Munir, and they had Ayub Kabi, Sivasspor with Faisal Fajr. Munir and Fajr went to Saudi Arabia, but
which is a big shame, because I'm a big fan of Faisal Fajr. He's a fantastic football player.
Yeah,
it's a shame he's I thought he was a lot younger than he was actually.
Yeah, he is kind of old,
but he's a fantastic footballer.
Yeah, his profile is more of a big brother to the rest of the team. So he will always be cheering, not complaining about being on the bench, doing his stuff when he comes in. But yeah, it's a very good destination for players. Either they were born and grew up in Morocco, or born and grew up in the rest in Europe and France especially. So it makes it easier for them. Obviously, going to a Muslim country when you can, and then you can pray and stuff like normally and calmly. Very, very far away from what has been the last years, for example, in France. So, yeah, I think this kind of similarity with Morocco is a good argument for Turkish club to attract Moroccan internationals.
And is there anything in particular you could highlight as when it comes to the players' strengths and weaknesses? Is there anything that jumps out to you?
Well, I'll start with the weaknesses. He hasn't got really good pace. So when maybe playing with the high defense and having to face a counter attack, he would struggle. That's for sure. But with the good tactical scheme, he could be a very, very effective player defensively. On the higher notes, he's very good with the header. So. On both ends of the pitch, he will be very good on the corners and set pieces and stuff. The main thing, the main positive thing about Romain Saïss is that he is one dedicated player. So I remember when I was in the AFCON, in Africa Cup of Nations in 2017 in Gabon, Morocco lost the first game against DR Congo 1-0, and they had like winner go home situation against Togo in the second game. In the day before, leading to the game, Romain Saïss lost his grandfather. His grandfather was the reason why he joined the Moroccan national team, and he gave him his middle name, which is Ranan. And he lost his grandfather the day before the game against Togo, and because it was such an important game, he refused to go back to France and to be with his family. He said that the best way to honor his late grandfather is to be on the pitch and to play and to win for Morocco. And what do you know? We were trailing against Togo, and who scores the game leveling goal is Romain Saïss, and actually
the equalizer.
It's his only goal throughout his career in the Morocco national team. So this episode gives you kind of insight about how dedicated this guy is, and I love this about him.
Would you say he's a model professional that lives for his craft?
Yeah, he's very good. He's got really good ties with all his teammates. You can go back and see some of the videos the Wolves have been posting throughout the years. He's really cool, a nice guy, trying to chat to everybody and to smile, to give this kind of smile. Also very very honest guy. So he will tell you your truth in your face. So there's no doubt about that. So yeah, it's kind of the players that are more. I think they are more rare now. There are less and less players who are honest and would ally dedication and also franchise and honesty. And I think they're more rare now.
Perhaps the fact that he made his debut so late in professional football plays a part in that, because what you notice with a lot of young, well, not necessarily young players, like they can be in their 30s already at this point, but when they live their entire life as a professional footballer, earning lots of money since their teens, they tend to lose touch with reality a little bit sometimes, perhaps, and I think a guy like Saïss maybe who didn't get there at 17, 18, maybe that helps forming their personality.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you can see Kaan sometimes that footballers, especially in the top level worldwide, are privileged people. And I remember, for example, I think it's Inter training ground or something. There's a big writing on the wall when we say we are privileged people, and you have to remember that. And also Marcelo Bielsa, when he was at Leeds, he was always keen to bring players into community restaurants and stuff, and popular soup and stuff to still have contact with the rest of the mortals. So I think like you said, starting his career very late at 21 made him realize that yes, he is privileged, and in that sense he has to stay to keep the ties with the regular people and stay like a regular people in his personality.
It also took a lot. I think it almost went under the radar in Turkey, this move, because of how dramatic it was almost. Because, for example, right now Beşiktaş are in the works of signing a striker, and it's something that's been dragging out for a month. In the media every day you've got new updates, and he this is happening now, or he's deciding tomorrow. Oh no, he's not. He asked for more time, stuff like that. And with Romain Saïss, it was almost like, suddenly, like a snap of a finger, and it was said, okay, he's coming to Istanbul next week, he's signing, it's done. And it almost, for me, like, I think it's crazy how little hype there has been because of that. Because this is, I think, for Beşiktaş a very big signing, a coup almost, if you will. A great replacement, I think, for Domagoj Vida, especially for the system that Valérien Ismaël wants to play. Almost because of how the ease of which the transfer was finished with, definitely makes it go under the radar a little bit, I think. But Beşiktaş have been interested in him for several years. There have been, the club has attempted to sign him, I believe, 2 years ago or something, and he's one of those players that definitely stayed in in the database of the club, so to speak, and they followed his situation closely, and they ultimately ended up getting their man. You see this often in Turkey, where clubs are interested in players, especially with Beşiktaş, where they are interested in a player, but it doesn't work out. But like maybe 1 or 2 years down the road, it does. And Saïss is definitely somebody that they kept tabs on. And I think a lot of Beşiktaş fans are very happy with this signing because it takes away a big headache. Losing someone and replacing someone like Domagoj Vida isn't easy. World Cup finalist in 2018, of course. And now Beşiktaş have done so with the Moroccan national team captain. And of course we wish Morocco all the best in November, and Romain Saïss as well. And hopefully he can prepare himself at Beşiktaş and be in top form when it comes to the World Cup in Qatar.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it makes you wish that all of the Mercato window is like that, with very cool and calm news and only confirmed news. But yeah, I think it's a matter of the guy's personality. He's always been like that, very logical guy. Doesn't like to make waves wherever he goes. We never. I mean, we rarely see him like on. I think he started to have an Instagram a year ago or something, and the other players made him open up a profile on Instagram, but he hasn't got any social media stuff. He doesn't speak too much. When he speaks, he says very, very little, but very efficient talk. So yeah, I think it's the image of Romain Saïss, just like that. Just like when he went to Wolverhampton. The one day he was playing for Angers, and the next day he was at the Molineux Stadium preparing his signature with the Wolves. So there is no bigger waves, no tsunamis around his Mercato or anywhere near that. So he's a very, very, very calm guy.
He seems to be someone. I mean, you would get the impression that he decides and he knows what he wants and he's gonna go with that decision. Whereas other players will maybe wait longer, drag it out a little bit, evaluate whatever they get in, and look at their options more. Whereas someone like Saïss probably thinks, oh, I got a good feeling with this club, and I'll go there. And just he's been at Wolves for 6 years, which is a very long time to be at a club, especially in England. For a foreigner in particular. So yeah, let's hope we get a couple of good years with him, and we look forward to seeing him in action. And of course, like I said before, it does add a little bit of extra. Now we can watch the World Cup, and we can support Morocco because one of our guys is playing there.
Yeah, I think it's good, and I've been going through. Last season, Beşiktaş last season, and the drop in the level was shocking for me. I mean, those guys were in Champions League and were very, very competitive in the Super League in last year. But the drop in the level during last season was, obviously the fact of losing in the Champions League. I think it had a big impact, and having this kind of players that bring attitude, bring dedication, bring seriousness into the team will emulate other players to be like him, and I hope Beşiktaş will have a great season next year.
Knock on wood that we don't have the same injury woes we had last season, because that was one of the main reasons that we got sidetracked. Basically, like, against Dortmund, we had the majority of our team, but then like the other 4 or 5 games in the champ, like against Ajax, we played with a C team basically. We at a certain point we had 10 or 11, no 10. I think it was 10 of the starting players were injured, and it was all at the same time. And of course, you know how important. As you can hear my donkey at the back on the background, perhaps. You know how important the mental aspect is to football, and once you start losing and you get in a negative spiral, it's very difficult to get out of it. And I think Beşiktaş waited too long to replace the interim coach. and that cost them European football this year. But that brings with it a little bit of an advantage now. Beşiktaş can fully focus on the Turkish league and on the Turkish Cup, and they lost, or how should I say, it's going to be a very different team, which is also going to make things easier maybe for Saïss to take a leadership role in the team, because so many players were out of contract this summer, so many players left, a lot of expensive players, a lot of guys on big contracts. The team is going to look very different. The only thing that's really staying the same are guys like Joseph de Souza, Rashid Ghazal. Those guys will remain important, but there's just definitely an opportunity and a void to be filled there for a guy like Romain Saïss to take up a leadership role in the team, and I hope he can do that.
Yeah, and I think having Valeria Ismail as a coach is very helpful, because Valeria might be seeing himself in Romain Saïss, like playing kind of similar roles on the pitch and similar attitude. So I think it's very helpful for Romain to have Valeria Ismail, who also obviously is a French guy. So they will have a very good communication between them, and I think it's very helpful, like you said, stepping up and taking this leader place like he did in the national team when Mehdi Benatia stepped down from national team. So I think he's a good guy to have this kind of transition between one generation and the other, and this is what he does here in Morocco, what he did in Wolverhampton, passing from Championship to the Premier League, and I hope this is what he does in Beşiktaş.
Well, I want to thank you very much for your time. I mean, I'm not going to keep you any longer. I know you still have a lot of work to do there in Casablanca, but thank you very much for your time and for your insights on Romain Saïss. And well, like I said, we'll be cheering you on in the World Cup in November.
Yeah, and expect to have more and more, maybe hundreds and hundreds of Moroccan following Beşiktaş. I'm trying to pass the word for them. And,
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
How do you say "Go Beşiktaş" in Turkish?
Haydi Bastır Beşiktaş or something
Haydi
like that.
Yeah.
Or Haydi Beşiktaş, you can say that as well.
All right, Go Beşiktaş. We'll stay with that. Or Dima Beşiktaş, and it's a kind of mix up between Darija Arabic and Beşiktaş. All right. Thanks for having me, Kaan. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for coming on, mate. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Very nice. Excellent stuff. Thank you so much to Amine el Amri, and of course to Kaan Bayazit. Always a pleasure to have him come grace our airways and interview folks regarding our transfers. It's great to have him back in that what's the word I'm looking for, in that role, I suppose, right? But so yeah, it's just, it's great to get all that info about a guy who I think seems poised to be a very important player for us for years to come, in theory. As far as how you'd find Amine on the internet, on Twitter, he is at Amine _El Amri. So that is AMINE _ELAMRI. He is again representing Le Matin au Maroc. And yeah, again, great, helpful stuff. Thank you so much, sir. And of course, Kaan at Razerian, RAZZERIAN. And so yeah, excellent. I know that I couldn't be happier. I've already basically come out on a few occasions now and said as much. I think he's the perfect fit for us. I think the fact that he's flown under the radar might have folks like not as hype as they should be. But the reality of this is, at least on paper, obviously, you don't quite know how it's going to turn out, but on paper, it's the perfect fit. So yeah, let's hope these guys are correct in their appraisal of him. I certainly feel like his track record would belie it. So I'm hyped. I think he's going to be a perfect fit. Obviously, who he'll play next to remains to be seen. And I think that's what I'll do now. I'll talk about the remaining rumors, the other guys. You know, the only other official move so far, besides confirming Valentin Rosier, which is a big one, is, of course, the purchase of Jedson Fernandes in the center of our midfield. And a fantastic move that could be the move of the summer. Obviously, Galatasaray fans are upset by it. Fine. Don't really care for that aspect of it. You know, I'm not so petty in the big picture here. But in a case like this, it's just a phenomenal player. He came back to Turkey last year, if folks don't recall, to play for Rizespor, and in doing so, wowed us with quite a few highlights that, like, many of us felt like, man, I wish we had him already helping us do that stuff instead of Rizespor. Anyway, it'll be great to have him. He was already in training. I'm not sure if we'll have a Jedson episode. I'll talk to Kaan about it. You know, he's certainly free to do one if he has an expert on the subject matter. And the reason I hesitate is because he's a guy who we all know to some extent. We've seen him in Turkey already with Galatasaray last season. So I think he's less of a mystery, right? We're trying to sort of enlighten our listeners as far as guys that might not know about. That said, there is some other stuff that they're going to have to, Kaan might have to find someone regarding, or I will myself, perhaps. And so let's go through all of the news. As far as the keeper goes, I've been gone long enough that, so the Emre Bilgin news is good. He signed through 2026. And he played phenomenally last season. He's certainly, I think, the heir apparent. But there's still nothing regarding Ersin Destanoğlu. Supposedly, no transfers have been made. We do need to, I think, renew him, extend him. Same applies for Serdar Saci, right? And so that's like the two remaining guys. Emirhan was extended as well. Great news, obviously. I think also through 2026. But whatever. That's not the important stuff that we're here to talk about. So yeah, there are a couple guys who have not been extended. Ridvan Yilmaz has been on the cusp of being gone for some time, right? Frankfurt was interested in him in Germany. That said, Torino is still circling, trying to get him. I think, the last was like 6.5 million after bonuses that we were getting. I think we were trying to bump that up still, last I heard. And given that nothing has been made official, perhaps there's some truth to that. I'd love if we could get maybe more like 8 mil or so. Just given the price tags that so many Turkish clubs are putting on their guys. Abdülkerim Bardakçı went for like 3.3 million. Kazim Karataş for upwards of 2. So, you'd like to think Ridvan Yilmaz is certainly the best left back prospect coming out of Turkey at the moment. He should get us some money. You'd think. But so yeah, if they are in fact negotiating for more, I don't begrudge them that. I hope they succeed in that sense. Torino, perhaps a better fit anyway, or Serie A. But so yeah, that's the only real official news as far as outgoing guys. Increasingly, it's starting to look like Ersin is gonna stick around. So that's potentially good news, just as far as there not being a ton of upheaval. Certainly, Ersin is the best keeper in the bunch that we have. Another season under his belt with us, potentially performing at a high level. Could be good. We shall see. Could always backfire, but I don't think it would. He's not a guy who's suffered from our team suffering for the most part, because he's been solid for the most part. So that's it as far as goalkeeper goes. Mert Günok back in training. There was a really corny Beşiktaş English post on Twitter with an image image of him. I don't know if they're going for Star Wars or something, but it was not the quality we've come to expect. But so yeah, that's it for the keeper situation right now. It's looking like Ersin might still be our starter, but if not, Emre Bilgin's extended. We have insurance. So I think we're covered there. The back line, obviously we know everything there is to know about Romain Saïss at this point. Next to him will be Montero or Wellington, and the other guy will come in off the bench or be an alternative. You all know my preference is Montero. There's an argument to be made that Wellington is perhaps better fit on a three-man back line. I don't know if I buy it, to be 100% honest. The sort of brain farts that made me not really want to keep giving him chances, I think he'd be just as prone in any scenario on the pitch, formation-wise. Passing strange, loopy, perfectly placed balls into the opposition's feet. That's the kind of thing he could do no matter what, or like being offsides, not being seemingly somewhat conscious, seemingly unaware of the offside rule on occasion, stuff like that. He's sort of in that Necip category of always being capable of a card as well. Montero seems all around better in my opinion. But anyway, that said, opposite those two guys, whoever that second one is, should be a Turk. And now you've got Serdar Saci, who still remains unextended. Supposedly there's a deadline on that. If he doesn't do it, we're going to let him go. Try to get something out of him, some money. So where does that leave us? Obviously he should be extended regardless, so we can utilize him off the bench, further develop him. Maybe he could earn that sort of the Turkish central defender role. There's obviously still Necip there as an option. I don't think anyone will feel like we should go in with Necip as our starting central defender, though. Obviously, like when you see him in a derby, it's like, yeah, you kind of get it. He's got that heart, the passion, but it doesn't mean you want to see your general manager organizing a team in that manner. So, there was news of Koray Gunter, Kaan, what's his name? Kaan Ayhan, right? There was talk of these sort of bigger names who are Turkish playing abroad, Cenk Uzkaçar, stuff like that. But not much has come of it lately. The only rumor I've seen recently was for Atinç Nukan. And again, that seems to be more like filling out depth-wise, not, you'd hope, that starter next to Saïss and Montero or Wellington. So, there's got to be a Turk there, and we'll get into that. Currently left wing back, you'd have to think it's Umut Meraş that's slotted in there. Certainly in our first friendlies, that will be the case. We'll talk about friendlies in a moment. We actually have some now scheduled, all of them, so that's fun. Umut Meraş is the only real option at left wing back currently. Kaan, I think it was theorized like maybe Tyler Boyd could be sort of flipped to a left wing back, in the way that Ferdi Kadıoğlu was or something. Who knows? We'll see. Certainly in those early training videos, Valérien Ismail was keeping an eye on Tyler Boyd, I noticed. I don't know what that translates to. But so, yeah, we need a Turkish central defender. I don't think Atinç Nukan is the answer. He's not good enough. So there's still some work for Ceyhun Kazancı ahead of him. And again, like you'd like to see this sort of stuff wrapped up. It's a one starter. That's the good news. Only the one, and we do theoretically have the Serdar Sacis if he should extend, Necips, etc. Like there's someone capable to fill in worst case. But yeah, you'd want a new guy to come in and get the chance to settle in with the formation and all that, and the whole team to sort of get used to playing with each other. So, yeah, that's still, I would say, the biggest question mark So central defender, Umut Merash on the left side currently. Probably need a little depth there as well. If there's someone better than Umut Merash, I think that also should remain a Turk. There's not a ton of options. There's Tayfur Bingöl is being spoken of as a very likely candidate to come in, and supposedly he can fill that role. Now, the question one has to ask is that the man we want? He's already 29. He'll be turning 30 in January. Sort of a late bloomer as far as like people's awareness of him, but again, perhaps depth. I think one could argue Umut Merash is probably the superior of the two in that regard. No, he's got a lot of detractors. Folks don't like him much, but I don't know. I'm not so worried about that. I actually thought he's pretty decent pickup as he settled into the team. Now on the right side, of course, there's Valentin Rosier and Kenan Karaman, his backup. In the center of our midfield, we've got Jedson. Opposite, new captain Joseph de Souza, which I thought was interesting. Now, of course, you need to name a captain, and Atiba still has not signed. So that's perhaps the thinking on that. As far as depth goes, however, of course, we'll have Atiba. There's still Mehmet Topal, Necip. But then, a number of guys returning. Kartal Kayla, Yilmaz. And, of course, Emirhan İlkan, who, if anything, is a guy we want to actually get to see play quite a bit. In fact, maybe Atiba's not the first guy off the bench anymore, right? Maybe Emirhan will be. Anyway, we'll see. I mean, he might even play alongside Jetson, against weaker opposition, you'd hope. So, that could be one thing. Whatever. The point is, I think we're pretty much covered. I guess we didn't pick up Can Bozdoğan. It's okay. Given Jedson coming in, we really just need someone for depth at that spot. I think Atiba is the sort of dual option you can kind of fill into either role. So he'd be the first off the bench for almost either one of those guys. And then beyond that, you hope one of the kids can come on and make an impact. Who knows? Who knows? There might be some late movement in that regard. Another central midfielder, but we'll see. What's left, of course, besides that central defender role, is who's going to play on the wing opposite Rashid Ghezal. Nkudu is an option, of course. He will likely be with the team still. But, we've been flirting with, Ondrejka, supposedly, for some time. I don't know whatever came of that, honestly. There's, Fasnacht, I think was his name. Right, that's a guy who we were linked with. Which, I think he's a Swiss left wing. So Christian Fasnacht is a 28-year-old Swiss left winger. So I guess that would be another option there. But so what it seems like currently the strongest option, the one we're going after the hardest, is Jackson Muleka, which I 100% can get behind. I would love to see it. There was someone put out a meme of 3 sharks swimming through just a pool of fish, just gorging themselves, and and then with the subtitle being Muleka, Weghorst, and Ghezal, and I could not agree more. I think Muleka would be the what we always dreamed Laren could have been, right? Especially that one year where he may have duped a few folks. I think Muleka can be that, but match up those numbers with technique and ability that Laren never quite could produce. So yeah, Jackson Muleka, please sign with Beşiktaş. Supposedly in the next day or so, we're going to get a final answer on that. We've been negotiating with this club for some time, and it's down to the final days. There's supposedly interest from elsewhere in Belgium, Club Bruges or something like that. But I think we're still the more likely option for him. He wants to join us. He's put out images of him when he was playing against us and stuff on social media. So yes, please bring in my guy Jackson Muleka. That's what we all need. Which brings us, of course, to striker, and I've already tipped the cap on that one. Wout Weghorst, and certainly here's a guy we're gonna do an episode on. And I don't think I need to say like if he joins, because it's pretty much confirmed. He's gonna be arriving in Istanbul. Knock on wood. Tomorrow or today or whatever that is. I think today being June 29th, which is fantastic. So he'll join training just as we start. He is 29-year-old Dutch striker who will be joining us from Burnley. We've sort of covered his basic stuff, basic info. So I don't think I need to dwell on it too much. But with that said, I think if we can get someone to give us all that insight like we did for Mr. Saïss today, that would be excellent. But yeah, it's basically confirmed. Like, I think that's done. And not only that, but Cenk Tosun is supposed to at like 99% according to Sercan Dikme. So we have strikers 1 and 2. And if we can pull that Jackson Muleka move for the wing on the left side, he could certainly sort of alternate in as an option as a striker should Cenk Tosun become injured or Wout Weghorst not pan out somehow, whatever the insurance scenario is, Jackson Muleka could provide some there as well. So like that would be, I think, the ideal. Like we got our number one option at striker, and it's just a loan, but potentially I think there's talk of maybe a 7.5 million buyout. Maybe, I don't know, to be honest. Obviously, we'll need everything to be confirmed when he arrives and everything is actually made official. But so that's something to be looking out for. There might be a purchase option. Certainly, we can be hopeful. But even if not, it doesn't mean he like think of Rosier. Right? We've earned guys' respect and admiration. We've convinced them to stick around just by having a good time with us. If he can come have a good season, there's no reason he can't change his mind. If he's rejected the buyout option or whatever it is. So yeah, great news there. Cenk Tosun, fantastic insurance. Nothing as far as Guven Yalcin goes. I've heard he's very likely to actually re-sign. I might again prefer Thiago Çukur, as a third option, a young guy. We also have, that Koray fella striker coming up from the youth setup. So, lots of fun things. Honestly, this is a fun episode. No bad news. Hopefully, we'll get official confirmation on Weghorst as far as him actually arriving, touching down, and we can do an episode on him soon. I'll talk to Kaan. Ditto for Jackson Muleka, although I don't think we have to do an episode on him. I can just show, clips from the Kasim Pasha episode where I talked about how I scouted him myself before that match and psyched myself out for it. And sure enough, that was pretty much our worst outing in the Valérien Ismail era thus far. So, yeah, man, I feel good about the whole thing. It's been a great window so far. We've covered, the striker and central defender were the two biggest holes, right? That left wing option, there is still Nkudu, there is still we have Hasic and Boyd and Alex Teixeira, there are all sort of question marks that could theoretically fit into that role, right? The emergency was absolutely striker. We need two, and bam, we got two good strikers. That back line really needed that sort of stalwart vet presence that we got in Romain Saïss. So far so good, man. I don't know. People are really in a negative mind state these days, I think. Obviously, it wasn't the best season we're coming off of, and people are always somewhat critical of the whole general manager thing, but I don't know. I feel like we've gotten great pieces. I'm not too concerned about the age on Romain Saïss, because we've been over that. It's a position of need where I think you can kind of make an exception there. I think, for me, Jackson Muleka would be the sort of cherry on top. that would be the sort of perfect scenario. If not him, there's this Christian Fasnacht, right? The Swiss guy, 28-year-old. Whatever. I mean, Muleka is great also because he's 23. So there's that, you're building that. You have these 3 core age units. The kids that we're bringing up. We have the sort of young, Rosier. You could add Muleka to that, but Jedson, this kind of guys entering their prime, if you will. And then you have this older cohort of guys, the veterans brought in, the Saïss and the Weghorst and what have you. Rashid Ghazal, the kind of leaders of the team. Joseph. So, yeah, you're filling out that core a little bit. The middle one with Jackson Muleka could be nice. So we're building in 3 phases. But more to come for sure. Certainly, we're gonna need a Turkish central defender. The Turkish central defender, 100%, and we're gonna need someone on that left wing to give us a little more clarity, I think. We also probably have some questions about whether guys like Alex Teixeira are outgoing. Why are we so hungry for a left wing? Obviously, when you have Nkudu, you need someone no matter what, even if you want to keep him because he's so injury prone. But is the plan to keep him? Are we maybe looking to offload him? I don't know. Lots of questions to be answered still. And of course, what's the final word on Ridvan leaving? Is Ersin slotted as our starting keeper this season? Are we keeping him? For sure. So, of course, stay tuned for more. Next week we will be back, no matter what. That's a guarantee. But perhaps we'll be back with another, transfer episode. Maybe a Weghorst one. Again, that's dependent on Kaan or myself finding someone to interview and all that. But stay tuned, of course. And certainly there will be some news by then. And we will have begun to play some football. Theoretically. So that is where we'll leave things for now. We have Friendlies scheduled. And maybe no. We'll probably have an episode before we have some football to talk about. Because our first match is July 9th against Werder Bremen. Then July 12th we're playing Victoria Pilsen, the Czech side, which we've, I think, struggled with historically. Then July 15th, we're playing Mainz, German side. So 2 German sides. Then, on July 23rd, we're playing the Wolves, Wolverhampton. So Saïss, going to see his former side. July 26th, we're playing Deportivo Alaves of Spain. And then finally, our last friendly of the summer will be against Sampdoria, the Italian side. So fantastic friendlies lined up for us, honestly. This should be a lot of fun. We might get thumped, if we're giving younger guys more playing time, or if our new guys are taking time to gel. But on the other hand, maybe we'll come out competitive and have something to be excited about right out of the gates. Who knows? But again, I think we'll probably be back with an episode before July 9th, or after then, to talk about Werder Bremen and whatever else. But so yeah, stay tuned. No doubt we'll be back. Again, follow us on Twitter. Follow, of course, Kaan at Razerian, Razzerin. Follow our guests this week, Amine el Amri at AMINE_ELAMRI. Follow myself at Sir_Writes_a_lot. Of course, follow the podcast at not Black Eagles Podcast. That's our Instagram. It's Black Eagles Podcast, one word. But on Twitter, it's at Eagles_podcast. And yeah, as always, let's go Beşiktaş! Peace out, everybody. Lots more to come this summer.
Şimdi Bobo'nun önüne. Bobo aldı. Bobo girdi. Bobo. Bobo çok babasın. Çok harikasın. Çok güzelsin. Harika. Bobo. 2-0.
Besiktas International hopes you enjoyed this program.